Hi there. It's Cari Palmer. And the last thing I thought I was going to be doing today was making a video. I've got someone helping me in my yard landscaping, but this has to be made. And I think this is probably the most important video I'm ever going to make. It's been made very, very clear to me that I guess you can't understand what I've become. What I am is living in the fifth dimension full time. That's just how I describe it. The words I use, the feeling it is I'm in my skin bag. I'm still in my body, but I have fully evolved as far as we want to or need to evolve as a human. We come here on this journey to find this path, and we all have our own path. I never would want to try and tell someone what path you should take. The only path I tell you to take is the one that is from your interior castle, not mine, not from a guru, not from some book somebody read. When we shut up completely, we open ourselves to source and everything comes through. So that's what I've done. And I had no idea where this journey was going to take me. But when I said yes and started walking the walk, I never stopped. I fully surrendered. I unplugged every single circuit that I was plugged into outside of myself, and I retractable vacuum corded, brought them all back in. And I plugged every bit of that energy into only one thing. And that is something that we can't do as humans. I couldn't do it. So when I refer to everyone as a normal operating human, it's not an insult. It's what I was my entire life. We're searching, we're looking, we're seeking. For what? I mean, one thing that really I did not understand when I lived in Puyallup in my house, 13 homes in the cul-de-sac, we were the top and the rest were on the side, looking down at people going in and out their driveways, clocking in, clocking. It was like, for me, it became unfathomable. I'm like, because I was there. But it's like when you start realizing that we do that because we do things we think we need to do because it's been done before. We're told when you're told this growing up, that this is what life is, that's all you know. How can you possibly know anything different? For many of us, we get little nuggets, but for most of us, we deny them. I had to leave Puyallup because literally I was going through a transformation into something I could not comprehend. I just said yes to surrendering. And at that point, I had no reference to what it was. I just looked up and said, hey, you, universe, source, whatever you are, my life isn't working. I get sick sometimes. Very conveniently, ironically, fun when you get sick and it's like, oh, you can't go to that thing. God, we are so powerful. We have no idea. So I looked up and I said, my life isn't working. So I am going to stop trying. I'm throwing my paddles in the river. I'm laying back in my boat and I'm letting you take over. And literally, my life has been astonishing since that moment. So a dear friend reached out to me, and she's only reaching out to me when she's guided to, because that got this video going in an article that I think I'm going to write. But she is one of the people that I was on this journey with that started just under 8 years ago. Before that, I was so beyond normal operating human. I didn't even know what the word spirituality meant. I just knew I experienced things that were so paranormal that I couldn't comprehend them. And when I tried to explain them to people, they're like, la, 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 la. So I've always known something was bigger, but I couldn't know what. And we never, ever went to church. It didn't happen. My mom married 5 men. We knew people who went to church, so we heard stories. And I remember watching the 10 Commandments. It was like, all right, I had to understand something. So we had no reference to eternal or anything. We had no reference whatsoever. So we just went. through our life. And other things that were my benefit that helped me get here, I wasn't told you're going to college, you're going to preschool, you're going to work for the family business. It's like I didn't have, it was like, are you moving out yet? I mean, literally in our house at 18, it's like you're out at 18, before that impossible. And then figure it out. My mother was not a role model. So we had to figure it out. So not having anything to attach to as what I do next, I followed what everybody did. I got married. I mean, I did all those stupid things that we do because we think we're supposed to do them without even realizing we haven't even found our soulmate yet. But we just do it because it's done and we get pregnant. And so I went through those motions and I carried dysfunction and my horrible child with me for 30, I'd say 33 years of my life. 33 years, I was a card carrying victim. I didn't wear it on my sleeve and say, no, you didn't, because I'm this. I just lived in shame. I lived in with suicidal thoughts. I just wanted to die because living was not easy or fun. It was so painful, so hurtful because I watched my mother's behavior with her 5 husbands, but it was like, that's what we're shown what to do. And all of these videos that I've seen about what it's like being in 5D, which is where I reside, it's like the only way to meet these people is to find these people, because none of you can possibly believe me, first of all, but comprehend how I went from a mom, a radio personality, someone who went grocery shopping and planned me, from that to something that is beyond comprehension. My life is beyond my comprehension. I live it. It's absolute bliss. I can't share it because there's nobody at this frequency that I know. And that's why I am isolated. So I want to touch on that. So for my friend who she was trying to say, you're pushing it too hard. You know, just like, I want you to back off. I want you to realize, blah, blah. That's when I had to tell her, this is why I completely disconnected from every human being that I was connected to. And then I've been isolated since March of 22, I've been completely alone. There was some experiences that are in my books, but they all had to happen. But I am alone every minute of every day. It's been years. Prior to that, I was in the marriage household, but he was already dating somebody else. I just was too stupid to leave yet. And I was just being. I just was told to be still. And that's what I was doing. It was somebody who moved like a rocket ship, walked a minimum of 5 miles a day because I had so much physical energy. I was just like, brrr. I don't do that now. Now I sit in front of my fire, not now, but in the winter, I found myself sitting in front of my fire, which had Christmas lights all around the brick. And there's Mount Shasta being. And I'm completely silent and I speak to no one. And that is all I do every minute of every day. When suddenly I realize I'm going to the store, somebody needs me. I always meet people who have asked for help, prayed, whatever you want to call it. I know language really offends a lot of people. I don't care about language. I don't say nothing matters to me. I don't care about anything, but you guys get really attached to labels. So when somebody needs help and they ask their higher self, their higher source, whatever it is, because they don't know what to do. Boop, 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 boop. Somebody like me hops into Ace Hardware and run into you, and we have a conversation, and a miracle happens, and your life has changed forever. That's been my life. I know anybody who sees this video, I know if this video reaches enough people at some point, there are going to be so many of you who thought, oh my God, you're going to know it was me. Because those moments, they can't be undone. They can't be forgotten. They change lives. Like, it's an instant miracle. And then I go home and I stare. I don't eat. I'm not hungry. The habit of eating brings me to the kitchen, usually somewhere between 11 and 12. And I just look in the fridge and freezer, and I know I don't want anything. I know I can't eat. And so I would go out often because then I could look at options. And if something looked good, I would get it. Usually the children's meal, and I can't even get near finishing a kid's meal. And then I take the rest home and I freeze it in a food saver bag because I know I won't eat it. But at least I'm eating, and the fun of eating, I enjoy. And now, because food is not a requirement, nutrition is not, because I know I don't need it. In my book, Becoming Immaculate, there is a chapter towards the end about ego. In January of this year, I was on my ex-husband's health insurance until he was no longer in politics. And so that was done January 1st. That was the day I knew I'd have a day to do this, but I just didn't have a day to do it. I'm like, when will I do it? I need to do it. That was the day I stopped taking all of my medication that I've been taking for 25 years. 3 blood pressure medications, a couple times a day, the highest cholesterol medication you could possibly fathom, vitamin D, which, oh, I know I wouldn't need that. But I was taking these pills because everything was shot. Had a baby, bad idea. So what? Didn't have her, she was removed. But so I ruined my kidneys, but it didn't matter because I know who we are and why we're here. I'm not going to go deep. Everything covers that. But trying to explain how I was a normal operating human and I became someone who lives in the 5th dimension, who cannot and is not around people ever. The reason I can't be around people is because when I talk to you and then you tell me the reasons why you can't do something, and then I tell you why you can, you will not stop telling me why you can't. And so that is energy zapping. And like my friend coming to me yesterday with just not wanting to, but knowing she had to, and she had to because she triggered this, sending me this message saying all the reasons why I need to, it's like back it up. And it's like I wake up in the morning and I don't get out of bed until I'm told to. I do nothing. I don't know if I'm going to explain it here, but the summer when I was in Newport, no, I'm not. I'll have to write that. That's what I'm going to write. Because you won't be able to understand it. That was when I was moved away from everyone and I was isolated and I went to the ocean, and that was when I met God. I was literally brought down in the rain to the beach, and I walked down to where there was a beam coming down, and I was told, go there. And I do everything I'm told because it comes from something beyond me, not you. And I went there. Only where I was, the sky parted and this light came through. And that was when God dictated an entire chapter for me because I had questions. And that was when I had a conversation with God previously with a friend who channeled. But this was what my one-on-one meeting when I knew everything was about to change in my life. Because I shut up and I don't talk to people. I do not watch news. I don't use my phone. I don't know what's going on in the world. And you guys are so involved in it because I have no energy plugged into that stuff or all of you and your anger. It's all contained within me. And that's why God is trying to bring more people like me, because there are not enough of me that can shine a light to make life available to you, because you're so in these rabbit holes with this stuff going on that you can't hear us. You can't hear a word we're saying. It absolutely boggles my mind. I watch you. I watch this election. I'm watching you guys tangle yourselves in these incredible knots. And you keep tangling more and more. And it's like there's not enough light workers who've stayed away from the crazy to help you see the light. And so You're expecting worse and worse things to happen. And because there's so many of you fueling this fire, you're making it bigger. And so those of us who have stepped away, we are trying to keep it up and elevated and keep our energy pristine so we can help save this planet that you're killing. You're killing the planet. In my visions, which I get now, oh boy, I had somebody come in December and my third eye opened up. Boy, did it ever. I see visions of America with ash and rubble. And that's why I was guided to write a book in 3 weeks. And I've been writing for 40 years to get one done. And I wrote one in 3 weeks because we are literally going to crash and burn and we're doing it to ourselves. In there, I ask you, if an alien landed on your front porch and knocked on your door and said, "Who is your leader?" You don't have one. We are flailing. Power and money is what runs this country. And you're all saying okay to it. That book covers that. Your energy by watching TV and feeling the feelings you feel and getting all you worked up about it literally is making this monster bigger and bigger and bigger. So me and everyone like me, we're telling you, please turn those things off. Please go to nature. Please disconnect. Remember God. Oh, when was the last time you had a one-on-one with him? You don't. So God had to find somebody who had never met him before, who didn't have any preconceived notions before. I had none. I literally have been searching my whole life. And that's when I saw my neighborhood, all these people clocking in and out, and they're happy doing these little simple things. And I'm like, are you really content? So my entire life, dysfunction for 33 years. I made some deals with myself later and I found the rope and I climbed out. But it took me forever. And that's why I've written the book, Becoming Immaculate, because we can hold on to these stories, fueling the fire, fueling the monster, or we can check out and say, wait a minute, why am I doing this when this is not feeling good? And like step back and say, okay, let's look at nature. So I'm shortening this journey for you by writing this book because I got it, what took me decades to experience and get through. I put in a book on how you can, at this moment, using your interior castle, find your way home. So my search was relentless. I was pulled through this journey for a reason my entire life. And then when I surrendered and said yes, oh my God. I mean, I can't even, it's in the book, but it's just, I'm living it. I couldn't believe it. So I was pulled through this journey all the way so I could experience these experiences. So someone could tell you, pull away from the madness, step away from anything that gives you any feeling of icky in your body, anything that makes you feel off. It is something telling you you're on the wrong path. You need to take a step out. And there's people poking you and prodding you and annoying the crap out of you. And you're like, God, I just want to leave this because of them. You're supposed to. People are poking and prodding you because you planned it with them to help get you on your path. It is the most unbelievable, magical experience living in 5D. It's knowing I am in heaven every day. I've manifested the most beautiful, incredible, immaculate home in Mount Shasta. I bought this house without coming to look at it because when I saw the pictures, I knew it was it. That's how you are when you're here. You just know. When I left my family and I was brought to Newport, the first task that I was tasked to do is because God, source, whatever you like to call it, wants to bring people with you. And so that is when your first task takes place. And it is so hard and so incredibly painful. They remove you. You are not there. You're there. It's almost like I guess you could say you're in a coma, like you know everything going on around you. That's it. I've never thought of that. Everything going on around you, you know, but you don't give it a care. And you know you can't do anything about it. It's like in a coma, you can't go brush your hair, you can't do it, you know. So it was all happening with my body, but they were trying forcefully to bring my husband, my daughter, and a former friend through the tunnel. It's like they're gonna do it no matter what. And so I would not have done, I could not have done. It was like I would have given up because it's like I see they're not budging and I just stopped trying. But I wasn't allowed that option. I wasn't allowed that option because they utilize me as a vessel. I was a vessel to hopefully bring these people through. And it had to get to the most horrific moment where it was epically clear that they were not budging. And that was like the flip of a switch. I was released from that assignment. I was done with trying to pull them through because they were not budging. But it's like it. So if I'm just saying, if you know anybody that's trying to really pull you or something, they have no choice. And it's not trying to change your life. It's not telling you what to do. We're just trying to tell you to shut up, turn off the TV, and go to nature. That is all we're trying to tell you. We are never trying to tell you what you need to do because we can't know your story. A lot of it gets shared through the spirit realm, and then we're told what to say to you constantly. I'm told what to say. I get messages for dead people all, and that was the early training. Actually, I don't do that now. But I got messages from dead people to send to their loved ones. And I would hear it, and I would automatically find them and send it. And I would say every time, do not respond to me. I don't know what this is about. Somebody sent this to you. And so I know. And so I insist, please. It's just like, I'm just moving on. But there are times when they want to have a conversation and I can't, and I will tell them I can't because I don't know. I'm like, talk to them. They're right there. Talk right there. And then if I get something else, clearly I'm open to hear it. And I always got those messages because I was silent and I was in nature. So it was like, this would come through and I just knew to send it. But there was one that, oh, it was tragic. She was dying. And then suddenly he died and she was fine. And he came through me with a message. And I don't know what it was. I completely related at that moment on Messenger. It was a big one. It was a long message. But she did respond to me in the most gracious way. I guess she was going through a really hard time, a really bad time. And so people like me who don't have friends, who are silent, we hear from your loved ones, we give you messages. And you look at us like we're fucking crazy. I don't care because where I am, there's no such thing. Those posts you see with these people looking like they're floating up to the heavens, they're ascending, like they're ascending into the fifth dimension. That is what that portrays. But what it means is you become me. You ascend beyond the human realm. You ascend beyond the need to be plugged into anything outside of yourself. You find why you came to Earth. You find what your story was to get through. Oh my God, the compartments I've gone through to get here. I mean, I am excited about sharing them. They are unbelievable. But I got through every single one of them. I got through every one of them and I came out on the other side. And so I won at life. I was searching forever and ever and ever until before I did a podcast. And I was supposed to talk about somebody and how I met him. And so I had to look backwards for the first time in years. It was like homework. I looked back and I saw who I was. And from the lens where I was at that time, it dropped me to my knees. When we trust ourselves. When we find that mustard seed of faith that Jesus talked about, y'all know. I didn't know Jesus, but guess what? I found that mustard seed of faith and I surrendered and I followed it. And when you do, it brings you all the way to the fifth dimension. And then you also remember, especially those of you who go to church and spiritual beings, you know, we are not our body. You know, we incarnate into these bodies. We go through lessons. If we don't get through them, we go through them again and again. And I'm talking lifetimes, centuries. You go through the same shit you're going through now because you don't find the strength in yourself to step out of that story that you came here to get through. And that's all these lessons are. You set yourself up for a life plan that was going to push you from something that you needed to be pushed at. For some people, it's so tiny. And for some people, it's huge, but it's where you are in your evolutionary development. Like we all come here with our story. Not one other person on this planet, even your mother, can possibly know why you are here. How could they? Close your eyes and think about it. You are your consciousness. That voice in your head, the observer, that is you. Your mother is not sharing that space with you. That is your voice, your higher voice within you. So love everyone and thank them for everything they think you should do, but suggest to them, maybe you should do you and I'll do me. So at that moment, when I was reflecting back, because I had to do the podcast about somebody and how we met, it literally showed me that I had been searching, which I've already known that my entire life on this go, 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 look for. And at that moment, I realized I wasn't searching anymore. I was the only person in my neighborhood that couldn't stop looking. They're like living normal lives. And at points, I was like almost angry with them because I'm like, how can you not be looking for this? But we all don't have the same fire. I came from a childhood of absolute hell. And as I started with, we weren't told you're going to college, you're doing this. And that was the biggest blessing my mother gave me. Her being removed and a terrible role model. Now, thanks, Mom, it just dawned on me. That was the gift she gave me. Because if she was a good mother, if she allowed me to talk about the time she shot my dad and I was there, it would have helped me get through some shit. But no, it was no conversations, not ripping off my Band-Aid. So her being a horrible mother is why I became this. I'm really thanking her. I have a lot of conversations with deceased now that I'm here, but it's all lively. It's just who I live with because I'm still here for them to utilize my eyes, my ears, my senses, but I'm fully fifth dimension. I am one with all of them, but I have a skin bag they get to borrow. And the things that they see, and that's what I write about. And the stuff that I write about, this is one of the things about being in the fifth dimension. Most of you really, you have something you need to get through. It is like that life-altering line in the sand that if you cross it, it's like the ripple effect for generational, all of your ancestors is like the ripple effect that affects everybody in your family. It's like those weird things you see on movies where in an instant, boom, everybody's life is like they wake up and going about their merry way with completely different story. Just all of that undoes. When somebody crosses a line like one I had to help a woman cross in Newport, oh, the ripple effect is like it affects the future and it affects the past because there is no time or space. It is magical. But she did what everybody does. It was so simple. Oh my God, walk out, talk to your son. But she couldn't do it. And so that like threw her family back into this like dark black cloud that they don't know how to get out of. They were given a beautiful opportunity, but she couldn't do it. So everything that's been presented to me as that line in the sand, that scared me to death because I had no filter barometer. I mean, I was trying to figure life out. I would get to a crossroad, like take that job that didn't really have, I have crazy employment history, but I never followed security. It was like that felt safe. That felt like I have a job. But when I was at that crossroad, it was like that one felt icky because I knew how it felt. That one could not have a feeling attached to it because I couldn't know what it was going to be. And so every single time in my life, at a crossroad, when something just was like relationships breaking off, jobs, whatever, rather than saying, all right, even though I'm not 100%, I unplugged, jumped off the cliff. And it just astonishes you when you realize what you're capable of. You set yourself up for an incredible story here, but what you set yourself up for was to get through every single story of your life. We're not supposed to be crows. We're not married for life. It's all in my books. I'm not going through it now. But and you can't lie to me. You can't lie to anybody. Every single one of you has that thing inside of you, that burning desire, that thing you know you need to be doing, but you're not. And you're not because of this, because you're in a comfort zone that you're scared to death to push yourself out of. But that's what I came to do, to show you the way, to give you the confidence, and to explain to you how it's not going to be scary at all. It's going to be magical. But you have to love and trust you. You have to believe that you did not set yourself up for a shitty ride. And I will admit, the shittier your life was, the easier it is to get here because my life wasn't working. I was not happy. I never really knew what happy felt like until I found this path. Just 7+ years ago, I just aha moments beyond your comprehension. And it was like, I had to pull away from every friend I ever had to get to that because I was in these circles of people who tried to make her stay happy because she was so full of ego. And this one was really paranoid that her mom would show up and her house wasn't clean. It was just the chaos. Oh my God, the woman that had followed her husband and sniffed his pants. The people that I was just in these rooms with, that I agreed that this was okay to talk about people and be icky, and leaving that was the hardest thing I had to do. And now those people are barely a flake of a memory, but they were my journey and they poked me and prodded me so I'd get the hell out so I could climb this ladder and land in the fifth dimension.